The whole story around sherry casks is kind of an illusion, because if you think about it, who do you know personally who actually drinks sherry? Now compare that number to like sherry cask bottlings when it comes to whiskey or with rum. So there are much more sherry casks for the rum and whiskey industry than actually people are drinking sherry. So where do all these sherry casks come from? Well, it's quite simple. They are not real, to be honest, yeah? And let me show you how it works that we have so many different sherry casks on the market, even by knowing that nobody's actually drinking sherry. First of all, it's very important to know that there are different types of sherry, and we do have all different types of sherry casks on stock, but mostly we use Pedro Ximénez sherry casks, so the sweetest version of sherry. And what happens very often are these type of barrels. So as you can see, it's like a Pedro Ximénez sherry cask from two different producers. What happens here is basically there used to be red wine barrels, so there used to be red wine inside. After it was emptied and filled with sherry, and then they let it rest for like 18 months, 12 months, for a few months, yeah, so that the oak can absorb the sherry, and then we have like sherry casks. So, but it's not the real deal, because most of the time people are thinking that when we talk about sherry casks in the rum industry, it's like proper sherry casks like they used to age the drinking sherry. Instead, what we have, it's a very young cherry quality, which is filled in the casks, and after being emptied, they use the sherry to make like vinegar, or they distill it to a spirit. It's never the drinking quality you experience when you pour yourself a nice glass of sherry. Now, the better version of sherry casks are those. So these are like, it's written down, historic Pedro Ximénez sherry casks. What happened here is they gave these casks to the bodegas, and they used to be filled for 10 years with sherry, which is much nicer. You have a much bigger influence of the sherry to the cask and a much richer experience, and it's very well balanced, which is quite nice. So this cask quality is already way superior to those I just showed you, but as well it's like 3 times the price as these bad boys over here. But now the best version are these guys here, yeah? This is a Palo Cortado sherry casks. It used to be, well, it used to be filled with sherry for like 40 years, and the same as here. It looks quite similar to the other ones I just showed you, but this one as well are like 30 to 40 years used to be filled with sherry. So the influence is amazing. You get like these nutty tastes transferring to the rum. So this is like the best sherry cask quality available on the market, but they're very rare. Most of the time it doesn't exist. And what is quite special about our sherry casks is that we have a license to import sherry in bulk, which normally you can't do. You need to fill sherry in bottles in Spain, and it's like protected with a, I don't know the English word for it, but it's protected from the government to show for the customer to be sure that it's a proper deal, there's nothing mixed in the bottle. But we have a special license from the Spanish government that we are allowed to import sherry in bulk. We don't sell it, we are not allowed to sell it in a bottle, but what we use that sherry for is after we emptied the sherry casks, we refill them with the sherry, we let it soak, we empty the cask, so we get rid of the sherry, and then we refill it with the next batch of rum, so our impact of the sherry is very intense, yeah? And that's where we get this like sweetness and this like very mellow taste into our rum, because the Pedro Ximénez sherry is like the sweetest type of wine and sherry that exists on earth. So it contains we have a sugar content of 480 grams of sugar per liter. So it's like syrup basically. And this like proper drinking sherry quality, it's what makes our rum so special and where we get the sweetness from. Because as well, sherry cask, as I mentioned at the beginning, doesn't really exist. What happens is that the bodegas in Spain, they never fill the cask completely. So if you think about it, you have like a tower of casks, and the bottles from the lowest level of cask, the bottles are filled from the lowest level down here, and then you refill the lowest cask with the cask above, and this one with the cask above, and on top you have like four levels. on top you refill the cask with like the fresh new sherry. So you have a constant mixture. That's why these casks are never fully emptied by making sherry. That's why these proper casks for aging sherry never come on the open market. And a sherry cask is only considered as very good, as exceptional in the sherry world after like 100 years of aging. That's why, yeah, you know, at the end, the whole sherry cask theme is kind of a scam, and the proper sherry cask basically doesn't exist. What I just showed you, especially the last ones, are like the highest level of sherry cask you can buy on the open market. And let me think in the comments what you think about sherry cask aging. Do you prefer these type of casks, or are you more the classic bourbon style when it comes to aged spirits such as rum and whiskey? Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Thank you.